All right, I'm going to talk today about A-frame building VR on the web. Before anything else, we'll do an audience survey. So I want to know the group. Any web developers here? Of course, this is HTML5, so you better raise your hand. There's no HTML5. Thank you for visiting us and being part of this group. UX designers? Anybody? Okay, so we have one. That's great. VR developers have messed with VR and all that. Great. Well, thank you. And IoT, robotics have played with it. Internet of Things stuff. Cool. For anything else, let me introduce myself. My name is Dagdag. I'm a 3D developer at Thyssenkrupp Elevator. What I do is automation, 3D automation for Autodesk Inventor and all these for the calculations and configurators for the elevator business. I'm also the Hackster BFW ambassador. Anybody familiar with Hackster.io? Raise your hand. Hackster is a website, or is a group of people that wants to learn hardware stuff. So if you're interested in Internet of Things, interested in robotics, or if you're interested in like home automation, Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, and you want to learn more about those things, this is a great meetup to attend. We attend actually the same day as HTML5, but I had to move things around to accommodate you guys. So we're gonna have our meetup next week, next Thursday. We're gonna be talking about SparkFun Blink, which is a new board that they sent us. Actually, Hackster sends us boards so we can try it out and play with it and create projects. So if you're interested in trying out, I think next month it's going to be Arduino. They sent us about 10 Intel Arduino. So if you're interested in playing with that, what are the capabilities of it and creating projects with it, join us. I'm also the Dallas Littlebits chapter leader. Anybody familiar with Littlebits? Littlebits, if you have kids or 3rd grade to 6th grade, it's these magnetic kind of like pieces, Lego pieces, but it's more of like for electronic stuff. So if you want to blink an LED and have buttons and create your own home automation stuff, it's easy enough for kids to put them together. If you're a designer and doesn't, if you want the easiest way to just hack something, the Littlebit stuff is cool to try out. So, and also I've started the Dallas AR VR development meetup. So most of the stuff that I talk to, I posted on there on that meetup. And if you want to check out all of my projects that I worked on, I posted on Hackster, and I have a lot of the AR VR. Because what I'm interested in is in the convergence of augmented reality or virtual reality and Internet of Things. If you think about it, the next generation of devices, next generation of things that we're going to be working on are mostly Internet of Things, plus how to visualize it, how to present that data. Anybody familiar with HoloLens and all those things, and how you're looking at a different way of interacting with devices. Cool? All right, virtual reality. Today we're going to talk about virtual reality. Anybody have experienced virtual reality for the first time today? Well, of course we tried this. How do you like it? Pretty good to see how it's different, right? Different experience. It's a technology that stimulates physical presence from interactive, realistic 3D environments. Actually, this is HTC Vive that has these controllers that you can walk around and then start painting inside virtual reality. So it's a different way of interaction. This one is trying to, it's like he has a gun and is trying to shoot stuff. So of course, it's not, what I'm trying to say is that most of these stuff that you see is just like, okay, well, the virtual reality stuff is for gaming, you'll hear it, you'll see all these games. These ones are, they're playing these different games. They're trying to build a car, or trying to draw up a car, or something like that. Or
Great.
yeah. But of course, there's social VR too. So it's not just gaming, but there's also a way to dance together inside VR with a bunch of people. I think there's a big screen. And of course, yeah, you can do your there's a dance contest now in the social VR space. Of course, gonna have that. And DG Capital forecast that's going to be a 20 billion market by 2020. So yeah, it's growing. And actually, one of the games that are coming out is Fruit Ninja, like in real life, Fruit Ninja, if you're familiar with that. In terms of hardware, these are the common things that are available today. You have the Google Cardboard, right? You played with that. This is the cheapest way to get into VR. $15. You can get VR. What it does is you put your phone here and install an app, and then you have your VR. This is the smallest one I can find. See, you can have it in your pocket, and how it works is you just plug it in like this, and then you have your VR experience. So it's very, it's good to show to people how the VR is. This one right here, the Google. Anybody familiar with the Google VR? They just released that today, and that's for the new Android phones. It has better screens than Google Pixel that they just released. This one right here is Samsung. That one is kind of like the same as Google Cardboard, but it's specifically for Samsung phones. But it has its own marketplace. Of course, I showed you all the Oculus Rift. And then this one is Sony PlayStation, which one is geared towards gaming. And then this one is the HTC Vive, which is the one that I was showing you in the video, where you can draw something in virtual reality, because it has the controller that can track your hands. So what are the frictions of VR ecosystems? One thing, there are gatekeepers. Then, of course, you have installs and then close. Gatekeepers are like app stores. Of course, our world is HTML5, so we don't worry about app stores, right? But in the current stage where you're doing an app, if you're going to create an app for virtual reality, you got to go through Google, or you have to go through Oculus, and you have to go through those gatekeepers and make sure that your app, it gets approved so that you can mass market it. And of course, installs. If you want to play with one of these, you have to install it on your phone, right? Or I have to install it on my machine in order to play with one of these games. And of course, it's closed system. That means it's proprietary. So if I want to work with Google Cardboard, either I can use Unity, or you have to use Android. And of course, it has steep learning curves. So if you want to work with Google Cardboard, you have a different way of programming in that, versus if you're going to play with the Oculus or HTC Vive and all those different things, because they have silos experiences. And of course, since we're on HTML5 user group, there's WebVR. What is WebVR? WebVR is an open virtual reality platform with the advantages of the web. So the advantages of the web. What do we like about web? The web, right? What we like about is anyone can publish, open source, and open standards, right? If you're a web developer, just create an app, show it to the world. It's open and it's connected. So that means if I create an app and I wanted to move to another app inside my website, you can easily move from one to the other. So it's kind of like building a portal. And also it's instant. You click on the link, there you go. There's no install. You can easily get to that experience. So let me know if you have questions. Feel free to just raise your hand. Standard browsers So Web APR is the standard browser APIs that enable WebGL renderings to headsets and access to VR sensors. At the end of the day, what the browser wants to do is, if I install it on my computer, it should know that I have Oculus Rift installed, so my browser should be able to talk to it. If I don't have Oculus Rift, then it should still be able to detect that. If I have HTC Vive on my computer, it's just APIs that automatically combine all together, right? So if I have it on my phone and I have it on here on the Google Cardboard, it should work all together. The same app can be used in Oculus Rift, you know, if the same browser that can be used with your phone. It's the same website. So that's the idea. So it's working with the W3C community group. The initial WebVR API was done by Mozilla. It was released like that last December 2015. So these are early bits. It's not even on the mainstream browsers yet. So it's still on the nightly builds. So Mozilla, Google, Samsung, Microsoft, all these communities are getting together to draft this WebVR. So it's going to be here, right? It's here. WebVR 1.0 API just released about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it's optimized rendering path to headsets for 90 frames per second. So they're actually optimizing these so that you can have better experience on the browser. And of course, you know, it will know that it has access to position, pose, rotation, and data. So currently, how you can run these is on the Firefox nightly build, the Chromium, there's an experimental, and then the Samsung Internet. If you have a Samsung Gear VR, there's a Samsung Internet app that you can install with. And of course, in your phone, there's a mobile polyfilms, so that it would just work with WebGL. So at the end of the day, the background is using WebGL.
Can you explain more about mobile polyfilms?
So it's using the device motion orientation sensor to mobile. So it converts it to version of your browser that your browser can understand.
Okay, so like backward compatibility.
Yeah, backward compatibility. Does that make sense? That's how it works. So is the web ready for VR? Is it really? This is actually an app inside the browser that's doing, and he has HTC Vive, and he's doing some paintings in the browser. So, metaverse in the browser. Anybody knows what metaverse is? I always get confused what that is. I guess it's alternate universe. it's on top of our universe. Currently, how you would generate, anybody have experience with WebGL? Browser, played with WebGL? Anybody have played with 3JS? Do you remember how many lines of code you have to do just to create a box?
3JS is easier.
3JS is easy. It makes it simpler. In order to create a VR experience in WebGL or 3JS, you have to make sure you set up the camera, initialize the screen, set up the lights. Of course, the window have resize, you have to make sure you take care of that. The virtual reality effect, that means you have to render this side, and then this side you're splitting your screens into two, the left eye and the right eye. You have to instantiate the renderer, create the render loop. You have to make sure you load up the assets. There's a lot of stuff, okay? And it gets too difficult. If you're just a regular developer, and it's just a lot of JavaScript that you have to deal with. What if we can just, does that look familiar? Does that look like HTML5 to you? What if we can just call those? See that code right there that he was scrolling?
JavaScript.
Put it in there. Well, that JavaScript and put it with a tag. This is how you would do it in Three.js to create a box. You want to create a box, you have to make sure that you set up the material. This is JavaScript stuff. And you create a mesh, you position it, and add it to the scene. That's the simplest, Three.js app you can do. This is how you would do it. Is that easier to understand? Just looking at it, without knowing about how the software works or anything. I want to create a box, I want to color it red, and I want to put it on this certain position. And that's what A-frame is. A-frame is a declarative framework, just like an HTML, for building virtual reality experiences on the web. A-frame was launched December 2015 by Mozilla VR team to make it easier for anyone, even designers, to create VR content, to further democratize the dark arts of graphics programming and enable web developers just like us. You raise your hand, you're web developers, to be able to generate VR experiences. Anybody can tell me what this one is doing? I'm going to take a stab at it.
It's not what created that image before that. Is it the previous image? Couldn't be.
It would be the next one. So can you imagine what it's going to look like? Have an
Is
idea.
it background?
So you have this is the code. This is the HTML code.
Yeah, it's a code for background.
This is the background. Image, the sky.
Yeah.
You got 3 objects in the scene.
You have 3 objects, right? Well,
No
I
3D.
think there's 4.
Ice cream cone?
Plane.
You have a box, a cylinder, a sphere, and a plane. Yeah,
I thought it was just like a flat table.
which is another object, right? Yeah, it could be a top. So you have the rotation
In the sky.
in the sky.
I don't think it could be.
You can easily
I don't
copy
think
and
it's
paste
an ice
this to your code and it'll
Show
show
what
up.
it look like.
cream. That would need a cone. Have a cone in there.
There you go.
Oh.
Remember, I don't know if you've noticed, my presentation is a website.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh.
So you have a VR experience in your browser.
See the
Those
glasses
lines
in the
this?
corner? Lower right.
Let's go back to that. Those lines of code. Do these. This one, if you actually point it to your phone, now you can use it in that.
So is your camera just automatically in a spot?
Yep. And knows where it's at. Let me see if it's going to do it. Maybe not. Maybe. Hopefully it doesn't crash my browser. But you can move forward, you move back. It's a VR experience. Cool. Okay, let's dig more into these. What is an entity component system? Pattern, anybody familiar with a game engine or have played with game engines like Unity, Unreal, and all that stuff? It uses the pattern. Entity component system is a pattern of those game engines, just like Unity or Unreal. What it is that all objects are either entity, all objects that you see are entities. And then components are their behaviors and functionalities. That make sense? So this pattern favors composition rather than inheritance. So you're trying to close. Let me talk further about that. If this will go. But think about it, it's just like Minecraft. If you played with Minecraft, it's kind of the same way. Entities, like Beast, Batman. If you look at it as a 2D game, you have your. Well, of course, I can't use Mario, but there's the monkey and the banana and the tree, those. And then you have components, which is, okay, how much life do I have left? how much coins did I pick up, and all those things. And those are components that you attach. So a car has is a light, and it's colored blue, and it has an engine. That makes sense? So more of a composition. So composing an entity. So in A-frame, everything is entities, right? So a entity itself is just nothing, it's just a placeholder, right? And then you start adding components. So I want to add, and it looks familiar to you. If you've done HTML5, this looks familiar, very, very close to what you do, right? You add properties, right? You add attributes to your tags, right? To your elements. And so like here, create a audio visualizer with that scale, entity generator. And of course they have this idea also about mixing. Anybody played with CSS? On CSS, that helps you kind of like creates those reusable components. So this one kind of introduces, see that A mixing, that you can use it here so that you can have kind of like a CSS way of doing it in VR. So if I run that app, it might take a little bit longer. This is what it looks like. It may not have a sound, but it's supposed to have a sound. Go back. It may not have sound. But maybe it's because it's playing on my... Anyways, all these bars are from that code. That it's using the music to be able to do that inside a web page. So how would you bake an entity? How do you make one of these tags? Remember those A box, A box, A sphere, and all those stuff. At the end of the day, they're just entities, and you just start naming them and identifying, hey, these are some parameters I need for that entity.
Let's say you had a box and you wanted to put texture onto it. Would you define the texture much in the same way you define the color? You say, like texture, color,
Right.
and then a PNG or something.
Right,
Texture.
that's the same way. And how would you register a component? This is how you would register a component, like position. You would create one of these. Attribute is you register, you have that A-frame library. At the end of the day, you're dropping a library to your HTML5, and you register components, and it does, this one updates, if you're familiar with game programming, every frame, it renders the frame, it would call these, and these are all your JavaScript stuff and what updates. And of course, these are what you would use like in 3JS and all those things. Components is another example. You can make your own, not necessarily. This one kind of like, this one ticks, that means it's get random position. See how it's trying to change the position of it. Anyway, if you want to deal more and want to learn more about these, it's easy to dig in and learn more about it, especially if you're familiar with JavaScript and HTML5. Okay, in terms of integration, the same way as you would do it in JavaScript, you can actually use the existing knowledge that you have, like query selectors, created element, setting an attribute, append child, which are all just your basic JavaScript functions. So it's fully controllable through JavaScript and DOM API, and integrates all web languages and API. So that's what's great about it. What's great about it, of course, since it's based on DOM, you can integrate existing libraries. Now, you can, if you're familiar with D3, anybody play with D3, which is like your graphics visualization. Vue.js, which is like your MVVM, kind of like, but you would work with React, Redux. If you played with Firebase, you do that. If you played with ASP.NET MVC, you can actually use it with this. So it's very reusable with all the web technologies that we have. Yeah, you can use it also with Angular. If you play with Angular. And also, what's great about this is it can be used alongside with some of the 3D tools that we know. Creating models and scenes to place into A-frame. Like if you're a web developer, if you're a designer, anybody played with Blender before and all that, you create your 3D images there, Maya. So you can export a Collada file and be able to load it inside the A-frame. Magica voxel, actually, this one's pretty cool if you want to play with it.
Is that one free?
Yeah, this one is free, and you can create kind of like a Minecraft or
Yeah.
Blender's free. Blender's free.
Yeah. So and it's in the browser, so that's what's great about it. Yeah, and of course, this is an example of it. Somebody created with Magica voxel to create this scene, and there is a way to export it inside here. See? You move forward too.
I would always do my stuff in Max, and then I had a conversion to Minecraft blocks, and then I would go into Minecraft and go into my world through Minecraft.
Through Minecraft.
Yeah.
So this one you can actually just
cool.
export in. Bam! Place it in here. Wait, but there's more. There's also, you can press Control-Alt-I, and you can start modifying these and kind of see what it looks like. There's the scene, there's properties. So if you're starting to create your VR experiences, and you have to start editing a lot of HTML5 code, like in browser, you can go here and do Control-Shift-I, or Control-Alt-I. You'll go here and you start changing parameters.
So can you see your code at the same time?
Yeah. You can go back to. You're actually seeing that.
No, I mean like have another window with just all the code,
You see a lot of times, yeah.
the real code
Yeah, you-
written out.
I don't know if there's a way, but I haven't tried it. But there is a way to save this, and now you can see the code.
Code. Okay.
Right? You can actually export this to another HTML5 code, and then you can just start using it. So once you kind of like made it right, because it's easier to go around and walk around. This is the camera where it's going to be looking at. This is what the world looks like. You can now define and move stuff around. Does that make sense? Cool. Let's see if then you can click. Yeah, you can save this. You can change it on the fly, and then you can go back to the scene, and there you go. And it's already included in the library. Of course, there's a way to disable it if you want to. So in terms of ecosystem, this may be a little bit outdated, but there's like 60 contributors to the framework, 3,000 stargazers, very active Slack community, and there's a lot of projects. Every week they would, if you go to aframe.io, let's see, A-frame. You go to the blog, you can actually see all these projects that they post and what other people have done. And so if you want to learn more about it. So by default, these are the initial, what is included in the library: position, components that you can use. You can change position, rotation, hand controls, material, sound. You can play MP3s, Collada, Hackster, object model. All these are already included. But since it's open, with the bare bones system, the community start building an ecosystem around it. The developers enabling other developers. Components can be consumed without programming knowledge. So if and there's a bunch of stuff. If you think about it, they released this in December, and in like 7 months, a lot of these different components start using it now. If you want to use gamepads like Xbox controllers, you can do that. The HTML shader, I have one here. This is anybody familiar with Leap Motion?
Yeah.
So you can use it with Leap Motion. Somebody exported it and works with the browser. If you want to create a gallery where you play a bunch of GIF files or GIF files, there's a GIF shader. See, There's a bunch of stuff you can use. So even if you don't know, if you know a little bit about programming HTML5, you can just import these to your projects or use some of these libraries. You know, start creating new experiences. Well, and they're all free.
It's kind of a general question. When you're developing stuff like this, I mean, I find that when I'm trying to develop the stuff, like I use Unity, but I'm kind of really interested in this. I have to continually sit there, look at the phone, look at this, and then sometimes I really get an idea what it's like. I have to put the headset on. Is there any way to like kind of push what's on that headset onto a screen so that, you know, it's like it's a little easier to kind of look over at what's happening and actually get navigation and looking around and stuff like that?
And I think they're still improving it, but that Control-Alt-I kind of shows you the world where the camera is going to be looking.
Right.
And then you can go back to your scene. There's a button when you come back, and there's a VR button, and it just displays it on your browser, not necessarily just displays it on your.
Okay, so you can actually use this code.
But at the same time, since it's a website,
Right.
you can just go to that site and use it on your phone. There's no install, and update it on the fly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can have multiple browsers that are open, have the same experience.
Yeah, that I find has always been a big challenge. Like taking my glasses off, putting them in.
Yeah, just to create the VR experience. Some real world examples. These are sites that they're actually using A-Frame nowadays. If you go to this site, aframesyria.com, this is pretty good because it has the VR experience. Let's see if our internet is fast enough. You can click on that button. And it works on your phone if you want to try it out too. You know how to sound, but yeah. So this is what's great about web experiences, right? The user have a choice. They don't have VR. They still have a way to experience it. Right? If you're using Oculus, you can have an Oculus and.
But that's some code you put in, right? Is that just standard for every? You get standard for everyone, and then it just knows what you have on there, or
right.
You have
knows
to,
if
you have
you
to
have
put in
the
that code for all those different ones.
Right. So this one right here looks like you're watching a movie, but now you can see all these buttons and all those different things. See where the experience is.
So that's something I would do in something like Pano 2 VR,
Yeah.
right? So is this, you're saying you can sort of create your own
Pretty
Pano
much.
2 VR thing,
Yes.
which is kind of
specifically
what I'm
for your
Right.
clients. So they don't have to buy, but you can have different experiences. Like their menus are totally different, right? And so you can get to that and see how I was talking about portals, moving from one portal to the other. You can easily move from one portal to the other. And just to remind you, this is on the browser. Okay, let's go back to the site. So you can explore that more. And back works. The back button works. Okay. Do that. And of course, this one right here is NPR. So this one has a sound. You can actively listen to it. But there's a VR, so you can try these websites. This one is interesting too. This Journey to Mars. Actually, UT Austin is one that participated on this in WE Sports. It's pretty interesting stuff. Try to on these. Maybe sometimes it's good to experience it. Go. And actually, this one also works with your phone, but see how it's changed. Here's how I explain what a web VR is, or a virtual reality web. On a 2D web, everything has to fit on the screen, right? Put your elements in, make sure you compose it properly and all that stuff. In VR, you can actively build mountains that you can climb. You can act, you know, the experiences changes and how you interact with, you know, you're not limited, you're not thinking about X, Y, and coordinates or just 2D space. You're actually thinking about where you're going to locate these in a 3D world. And that's, you know, that's what makes it interesting.
I guess I was wondering about, you know, collision detection and, you know, how you actually go up the mountain as opposed to just going through the mountain.
Through the mountain, yes. Theories activity physics library, you know, just like JavaScript. There's already a library for that you can use and just add it on here. You know, of course, they would use that for gaming and all that stuff. You can add, and it would just be a component that you add. Hey, here's something that I can climb. Or something, you know. This one right here, if you're in the real estate market or anything like that, this is a pretty good site. So, you know, just to showcase your product, and it's better to show it in VR. And you can go to one room to the other room and all that, and you can even have a map right here on the side to tell you where you are and where you are in the room. So this is a good experience.
So is that a panorama? You think that image is
Panorama.
It's not a 3D world?
Yeah. Panoramic image.
It's not a virtual, yeah, it's not a virtual world.
No, it's not. In terms of augmented reality, you can use on your phone. Browser that has augmented reality stuff in it. It's just a pass-through camera.
How are you doing the navigation like from your phone? So say you've got the cardboard and you put it in, like how do you actually interact with and move?
And move. Typically, you'll have somewhere in the middle where your cursor is, and whatever you look at, that's where it's going to focus. And then if you wait like a few seconds, that's when you specify it's a click. Or you can have a controller, just like in Swift, we have these controllers. But you know, without a controller, they call it gaze. You know, so it's different ways of interacting now. It's not just okay. Like if you're on the computer, you can do the WASD. W means moving forward. So those are already pre-built inside.
Yeah, I was mainly referring to like mobile and actual.
Right. So for mobile, you know, you can use a Bluetooth controller.
Yeah.
You can use another phone as a controller. Actually, the Google VR that's coming out with the new phones, it's a headset that has a controller, but it has an accelerometer on it, so you can use it for like playing games and VR. So there's finding out ways. Actually, I found one the other day. There's a Microsoft is already looking at haptic feedback inside VR. So, you know, it's kind of like you touch something on this, you would set your hand inside VR and you would feel the texture of it. And it's pretty amazing, all these different technologies.
So that one right there was Vuforia. That looks like it was a marker-based augmented reality.
Yeah, it looks like this one he's using Vuforia as the camera background.
Right.
But actually, there is
Slate.
another person that did it that works with Chrome. That you don't have to actually have an app around it, and it would just use like kind of like see cameras, where you can, you know how you can allow to be able to use the camera on your phone now. So there's a way to do that. Okay, in terms of multiverse, we're talking about social VR. Everybody pull out your phone and try this out. Because sometimes it's better to experience what I'm talking about. You know, it would make sense.
Why don't you do your presentation in VR? We can just all be. What's next?
That's next. You might have to, if anybody want to try it on the VR mode,
Yeah, absolutely.
you can try it out. You can grab one of these. Okay. Here's me. I'm gonna move up front. Y'all see me? I don't know who's that person that's on the side there. It's like,
What's the rest of the URL? tiny.cc/what?
Nothing's loaded.
didn't load? To do it on the side. And this one is using Firebase as a backend, so it's just one app. each session, it knows where it assigns a seed, right? And then you can store its location, and then you can grab the accelerometer value and pass it to everyone else. Do you see me?
Oh, yeah.
I'm up front.
That's probably because the iPhone.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to that HTML5. This is social VR. So.
Probably none of that's implemented in Safari yet. No. Is this like Chrome or Android only?
Chrome and Android. I think it will work with iPhone.
Because I'm just getting a blank white
Oh,
screen.
Yeah.
So you gotta go Chrome on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Chrome on that.
You
Yeah,
just
I
used to
I
go
mean, I
on
haven't really tried it on
Safari rendering engine.
Where? Somebody's moving.
iPhone.
Wow. See how you can get all the.
Back.
Was it tiny
You
little
guys
text
are.
on it? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Right? So you see how you can easily just pop right in. There's no install. It's open. And the experience is already there. You can try it. You click the button on the lower right. You can put it on here, and you can have a VR experience. You want to try it out? Oh, I have to reload it, and you have to do it on the side. You have a.
I'm only going to work on the iPhone. I can't use the Safari rendering engine for any third-party browser. They don't have separate rendering engines. Yeah. And so if it's not implemented in Safari,
Yes.
You gotta walk. I was supposed to be. Which one?
You can use it with your laptop.
it's like on the other side, just down.
Getting directions. You back there? Is that you back there?
I guess it doesn't work on iPhone. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's gonna move. It would know because it doesn't have position. It doesn't have tracker where you are in the world. It just knows your X, Y, Z position. Somebody go crazy with this.
Yeah, who's that crazy?
That's me. I'm the crazy one.
So now you can do your dance.
You're the one
with
with
this
the
thing, right?
You are presenting in VR.
Yeah, it's a presentation.
Like Cheerios for eyes. And
Mesmerized.
Lifestyle does a good job.
Oh yeah, let me check that.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Like it didn't have all the funky, dual lenses like we looked at earlier.
Yeah, because this is VR.
Yeah.
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 Sweet.
How's the latency on
Now I
the
felt like
devices?
$15 was
It's
worth
not
the
bad.
investment.
Devices.
Yeah, what's
it's
the
not bad.
latency like on them
To try that.
in
Well,
rendering this kind of
to
stuff?
consider these, of course, it's they're still working on it, but see how it's all simplified. So
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on the assets you have,
Sure.
I think there is a way to to know how many frames per second you have. So depending on how many how many stuff you have on the screen, it will slow
Yeah, yeah.
down depending on your processor on phone. But I know it's like a 2 megabyte download, like the JavaScript library.
Okay.
So if that's what you're kind of like loading time. All right.
Yeah, I know. Like those are the circles.
In terms of projects that I've worked on, I have these Connect Internet of Things that I've worked on. This one right here, you wouldn't believe, but this one right here is a credit card size, kind of like Raspberry Pi, but it's called Latte Panda. It has a full Windows 10 install. So So remember, if you have a full Windows 10, that means I can create a web browser, I can install a web browser on it, and then I found out I can connect, you know, on it. It has the SDK and all that stuff. So since I was able to get data from Connect, I was able to connect it to A-Frame.
Is that the home connect or the
Connect
the
would be
profes-
like
the professional connect?
well, actually, this is the older version.
Really?
Yeah, so the 1.0, the Connect 360. So this one right here, this is A-Frame, this is a browser, and I'm just streaming remember, these are just spheres, and the data that I'm getting from Connect, I just locate them, and so you can see them in VR, right? But that's a VR experience, you know, on the browser. Yeah, you can check that out. And this one right here, I brought this one. This is in robotics. This is VR Earth Robot. Got it right here. Later on, whenever you have a chance. Of course, like I tell you, I do a lot of Hackster stuff, and I posted these on Hackster. So, in terms of learning Internet of Things and the convergence, this is an Intel Edison. Intel Edison is, you know, chip, but it has a Linux in it. So it has Linux on it. I can install Node.js. Since I can install Node.js, we can create a website. We can create a VR website. So I created a VR website. And you go to your browser. I'll set it up later on, but you can. So what I want to do is imagine you're outside Earth, you're in between the moon and the Earth, and outside space. Then you're controlling your Earth robot or your Earth rover. So inside VR. So I have a streaming camera since it's an operating system. Full Linux. You can put a camera on it. You can stream it on a browser and be able to show and display. Cool. So you see the possibilities of how you can expand the capabilities of what you can do in VR, right? The great thing about this hack is it uses all web technology. So if you're a web developer and you want to play with these, it's awesome because anybody familiar with Johnny 5 or Silent.js? Played with it, you can use it to control your Arduino. So I'm using that to control the Arduino to move the robot or to move these. And at the same time, since I'm using Node.js, be able to communicate to the browser. And since I have these, the Leap Motion, working on the browser, I don't know if you saw it on the video, but you can actually use your hand. See if it loads. You can actually use your hand to control the robot. Any questions?
Are you going to get the Oculus hand things when they come out?
I'm
Or do
still
you have them?
debating it.
Yeah.
It's like $300.
Yeah, they are.
I'm still convincing.
Right. I was going to ask you. My second question was, how much money do you have invested in all your toys over here?
Oh, this one is $600.
Yeah.
Get that, but you have to get the video part. Those things. But it works on Google Cardboard, so you can start working on these things. It doesn't have to have but it also works with the web, so it's really to get into. So, any questions so far?
So on this A-frame stuff, is there any kind of integration with the more kind of augmented reality headsets like the HoloLens?
Not yet.
Okay.
On the HoloLens, you have to use Unity in order to do that. But in terms of phone, if you want to do augmented reality, like I was showing you a while ago, you can just use a pass-through, pass-through camera, and be able to detect that kind of stuff. There's a Slack channel if you want to join in and be on the conversation. That's the Twitter. This is my Twitter account. That's Ron Dagdag. Check out my projects at hackster.io. Of course, join hackster.io. And it's not just here in Dallas. If you have friends from Houston or Austin or San Francisco, or all these different places, they may have one that they can collaborate and learn more. Last month, about 2 months ago, we did Amazon Echo. So how to do development in Amazon Echo, and that one uses Node.js. If you're familiar with JavaScript, that was pretty fun. And also we have session about Intel, Edison, all those different Internet of Things stuff. So, and also they have contests. So actually this project that I was showing you a while ago, this one right here, I won $500 on this other one.
Hey, isn't there a new one coming out in a month or so?
Which one?
It was with the AR, VR, the Dallas AR.
Yeah,
VR.
actually there's a AR, VR contest at AT&T. So if you want to experiment on this and join in, the grand prize is what?
20 grand.
20 grand, yeah, 20 grand.
Yeah.
So we still have a few weeks, we have 3 weeks to
Come up with the idea.
come up with an idea, build an app, but you know.
Yeah, we want to be in your team.
Sure. You have a good idea.
You can buy more robots.
Start building stuff. If you want to learn more, if you have a laptop today, you can go to this website and you want to play with this. I have some code pen, links here, some examples that you can play with if you want to.
Are you going to post all this
Yes, I
presentation?
will post it on that whole thing. So if you want to play with it, since it works with CodePen, so you don't have to install anything in your computer right now. Go to that site and you start messing with A-frame. That stuff. It's pretty cool. All right, so I think I'm done. I got all my presentation in. If you want to stay tuned, I'm going to try to set this out. If you want to see the demo in this one.
Hey, is there something I could tell you what check go to and see if we can actually do it here?
Sure.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
That's just a little webcam.
Yeah, just the webcam.
You gonna go? All right. So the next one is that we don't see each other. It's the North Park, the VR at the Microsoft store. They're having a whole VR thing. It's November. What are we in now? October? Yeah. No, it's in 2 weeks. I'll send it to you.
I have some business cards here.
So I got stickers from iPad. But you guys were in too. They were at a big VR thing. And then Mike brought us